Hello everybody, I'm Charlie from Dr. Wen, and welcome along to a brand new Doctor Who YouTube video. As promised, I am back, and today I thought I would do Chapter 5 of my fan series, since it's a Monday, and yes, previously I've done Chapters 1 through 4, each one on a Monday or a Friday, and in it, then, basically Ian has been running away from these monster-like creatures that have been infected by the Vashta Nerada. He doesn't really know if he's in a dream or not, so he's just trying to figure out that as well, and the cliffhanger of the last one was that he thought he'd woken up and he was back in the normal world, and then Barbara turned into one of those monsters and said, "You are going to die today." So feel free to post your opinions in the comments below about this chapter and the story so far in general, chapters 1 through 4, and I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let's get into this video. So, this is Count Your Shadows, Chapter 5. "Ian, I'm sorry, but I have some bad news," Barbara said solemnly, her face pale and serious. "What is it?" Ian questioned, knowing it couldn't be much worse than what he just experienced. "I'm sorry, Ian, but..." Barbara spoke, her voice growing deeper as her sentences continued. Her face grew whiter and her eyes blacker. Her teeth grew into spines, and she became much, much taller. "You are going to die today." Slowly, Barbara turned into the most horrifying creature Ian had ever seen. Her teeth glittered gold, and were as long as knives, and probably as painful. Her eyes were pools of black, and her skin was just as pale as the walls of the classroom she was growing in. Blue slime dripped from her mouth, which let out a deafening noise. Ian felt as though his eardrums would implode. "I," the creature rasped, "will destroy you." After a second, one of its arms shot out from its body, a black talon swiping straight at Ian. Thankfully, he ducked, avoiding death by millimeters. While the creature was looking for him, Ian ran under her arm. Suddenly, he lifted a metal chair up and threw it straight at the window. The glass exploded, a single shard cutting Ian's neck. Blood began to ooze from it. "Don't worry," Ian told himself. "This is a dream, I hope." Ian began to panic. He thought he was in a dream before, and he woke himself up. But what if this was the dream? What if the dream was actually reality, and Barbara was dead? Ian decided that he didn't really have time to think right now. Ian dived at the window frame, using all the strength in his legs to propel him through it. Ian had judged the jump right, and fell onto the grass outside the school. Getting to his feet, Ian ran faster than he'd ever ran. He sprinted for miles, past building after building, street after street, until he ran out of breath, wheezing. Suddenly, his vision began to blur. His muscles turned to jelly, and he fell onto the concrete, his chin smacking onto the ground. "Ow," Ian spoke. He used his remaining strength to move his head to his neck. He felt it, and looked at his hand. It was covered in blood, a deep shade of crimson. Looking behind him, Ian saw a long trail of the same blood. He didn't get to look at it for long. "Hello," Ian heard a voice. "Glad to see you're awake." Ian sat up quickly. What just happened? Ian thought to himself. "You passed out, that's what happened." A man was stood in front of Ian. He had a round, bald head and wore glasses. Around his slightly fat frame was a large brown coat. "We found you in the alleyway, loads of blood dripping from your neck. Didn't look nice." "Where am I?" Ian asked, observing his surroundings. He appeared to be in some sort of office, with a polished oak desk and lots of bookshelves covering the walls. "You, Ian," the man spoke, pouring some tea from a shiny metal pot, "are in the Professor's office." "Who are you?" Ian asked, worrying slightly. He had no idea where he was, or who this person was. "My name's Nardole. I'm actually an android. The Professor will see you shortly." Ian looked down at his neck. Wrapped around part of it was a white bandage, some red blood seeping through it. "Sorry for all the questions," he apologised, "but where exactly am I? Am I far from where I passed out? And who's the Professor?" Ian was interrupted by another man walking into the room. He was tall and thin and had wavy grey hair. He wore tinted black sunglasses and was holding a blue electric guitar. "Hello, Ian," the man exclaimed, a joyous expression spreading across his face. "I'm glad you woke up. You've been unconscious for 3 days. If it wasn't for this..." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a device. It was blue, and looked a lot like the device the doctor had been using earlier. "We would have thought you were dead." The man had a Scottish accent. "Am I in a dream?" Ian asked, still wary after the confusing week he just had. "Oh, I hope not," the Professor said. striding across the room with his guitar. "If you were, I wouldn't be real. Just a figment of your imagination. I'd hate to be part of some ape's imagination." Nardole coughed. "Sorry, no offense." The professor grinned. Ian stood up slowly, observing the office some more. On the desk sat multiple pictures, each in a different frame. One was of a curly-haired woman next to a sign that read Beryllium. Another was of himself next to none other than Isaac Newton. That's quite odd, Ian thought to himself, but moved on. But the third was the one that caught his eye. It was a picture of none other than Susan. She didn't look any older or younger than she used to. She looked exactly as she did 1 month ago, when she was still travelling with the doctor. "Where did you get this?" Ian shouted, confused and angry. Why did this professor have a picture of Susan? And why would he have it on his desk? "I took it," the professor whispered. "What?" "Ian, turn around," he spoke, still keeping a calm voice. Ian did as the professor told him to, and behind him was a bright blue police box. It looked like the TARDIS, except it was bigger, and the windows were different colours. The bulb on top glowed white, and Ian could almost feel that it had not been used in a long, long time. Ian spoke quietly, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. "Who are you? Are you the Master? How do you know my name? Why do you have a TARDIS?" "I'm not the Master, Ian. I'm the Doctor. I'm 2,356 years old. I may not look like the usual guy you're used to, but I'm definitely him. And we're going to find whatever you just ran away from." "Prove it," Ian spoke confidently. "Prove to me that you are the Doctor, and you aren't just some old man at a university." A look of hurt pride flashed across the Doctor's face, and then he began to speak. "Your name is Ian Chesterton. You were born on November the 23rd, 1927. You were a school teacher at Coal Hill School. You met the Doctor in a junkyard on Totter's Lane, and you've been travelling with him since." "Oh my goodness." Ian fell back onto the sofa. You are the Doctor, aren't you? Why do you look different? And why are you working at a university?" "It's just a cover, Ian. I've been working here since 1947. I'm actually guarding an underground vault." "Doctor," Nardole murmured. "Right. Anyway, let's ask the important questions first. What were you running from? And how do we stop it?" To be continued. So I know there wasn't that much action in this story. I tried to focus every other chapter on characters more. I did that with chapters 2 and 3, and I thought I would with 5 as well, but the epic conclusion is going to come on Friday, so I hope you look forward to that. Like I said, feel free to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you've enjoyed it, and let me know what you'd like to see in future, stories in it. I've got some basic ideas, but for the later stories I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, so feel free to add some suggestions, and yes, I hope you enjoyed. Next time. So tomorrow I'm going to be ranking all 19 title sequences from Doctor Who from 1963 to 2020. I will see you then, and goodbye.